Neighbor kept parking on my property, so I had him towed update. Update 2. So I know a lot of you have been wanting an update, but I wanted to wait until I got a copy of the police report before I did, which I got this afternoon. Sadly, it didn't go anywhere. I was kind of hoping that he would have a false report charged against him, but the report states that NS told ND that he parked it in the street in front of my house, and that is why ND called the police. The NP had questioned both of them after he spoke to me, and that is when NS said he had lied to his dad and had actually parked in my driveway. I guess they don't believe he did it intentionally. So no charges were filed and the report was closed. I don't believe it, but that's how it goes. The trespassing report I filed has not been closed. Yet, I was told that if he is convicted that it is just a misdemeanor and he would have to pay a fine, maybe 10 days of jail, or community service. Also, it would be the son who would be listed as the trespasser, and since he is a minor, I'm not sure where that will go, but I discovered that if he is convicted, then I could use that to have a protective order done. We'll have to follow up later on the trespassing. So, I am getting a lot of messages asking about the truck and if there has been any retaliation. Yes, the neighbors got the truck back, and no, I don't know how much it cost them to do so. And yes, he is still parking in the street, but he is parking it further down next to the entrance of the road, as far as I can tell. They haven't done anything to my property, and they haven't said anything to me since that day. Although, I have gotten some pretty nasty glares and looks from them when I see anyone from their family. I was amazed by how many offers I received from all of you to help me get some cameras. This has touched me greatly. I would like to say thank you for the offers, but I am okay. I was able to talk to several of my neighbors, and I found out that my neighbors that are 3 houses from me may have been the reason that he asked to use my property. I discovered that the man who lives in that house tried to leave for work one morning. He leaves at like 4 a.m. and he couldn't get around an S-truck. So he bangs on ND's door until ND finally got up and went out and moved his son's vehicle. I don't know the details of the conversation, but I know there were angry words and a veiled threat if an S-truck kept being a problem. Other neighbors confirmed they had made complaints to Hoa, but Hoa wasn't really helping, apparently. Some other people on the block have had other issues besides the truck since he has moved in. And so this family isn't well like before this whole issue. Word has spread about what happened, and now there is a watch going on. I have told everyone that I would just like for things to die down, and have asked that no one instigate or does anything on my behalf. I told a couple of my neighbors about this post, and one of them has a Reddit account. So she said she was going to follow the post. And no, I'm not going to post a photo or video because I don't want to risk starting anything. If there is a chance that I can go back to my peaceful existence, then that is what I want to do. If you need that information to prove this story is true, then you are free to not believe it. Also, I wasn't clear when I was talking about emailing my Hoa. My Hoa didn't do anything but log the complaints I was making and tell me that my property is mine, and that they can't do anything about what they consider a civil matter. The reason my emails to the HOA were so important was because they contained date, time of the information, and that matched what I had told the officer. My Hoa really isn't very good. In addition, some of my neighbors have cameras. I spoke to the lady across the street, and her cameras weren't very helpful. They are at an angle and zoomed in on a bird bath in her yard. I guess she likes to watch them and wasn't meant for security. However, the neighbor beside her went out and adjusted his cameras. He has a lot of them, and was able to cover most of my front yard and part of the side that faces him, without sacrificing coverage of his property. It doesn't get my whole yard, but he was able to get the driveway, so anything going forward should be caught. I still plan to save up for some of my own, but now it isn't such a big priority. And the retired man down the street knocked on my door yesterday and gave me his phone number, told me if I got a visit from anyone from that house again to call him and he would come take care of it, and that he would make sure to keep an eye out. So I am feeling very blessed to have these neighbors. Final update. So first off, I want to apologize for taking so long to update. I've been waiting for the court date to be over before updating, and for some reason, it got postponed twice. Before finally getting settled yesterday, I'm going to try and make this a short update. But no promises. Lol. While waiting for things to progress, I discovered from the neighbor across the street that Ines had been caught parking in one of the neighbors down the street's house. And I was able to get a notarized statement from that neighbor about the incident and was able to include it as supporting documents on my report. Sadly, I was disappointed with the outcome at court because it ended up that he got a fine of $150. And that was it. Judge did stress that he can't just park where he wants and to be kind to his neighbors. I would also like to add that I personally haven't been bothered by that family, other than dirty looks when we're both out at the same time. Furthermore, I found out that he and his family either found this post or was told about this post and are very angry about it, and have mentioned that I am slandering him and that I lied, but he hasn't said anything directly to me. I also have been able to save up for a camera system, and my ex-husband came over and installed them on my house, and he made a very big show of doing it. So I now have eyes on my property when I'm not looking. There are two good things that have happened. The first is that after NS was caught parking in the other neighbor's driveway, the family started playing musical cars with all their vehicles. They had been constantly moving cars in and out of the driveway in order to accommodate that huge truck, and it has been watched with delight from the entire street. I think it finally broke in D because about 2 weeks ago, they got rid of NS truck and replaced it with a much smaller truck that can easily be parked in the street. So I feel like this is some kind of victory in itself. But the best thing that has come of this whole thing has been the older man down the street. He's the one that I mentioned in my last update that he gave me his phone number and told me to call him if I had any issues. I never called him, but I came home one day and I noticed that my yard had been mowed. Weeded, is that the correct word? And edged. I've never seen my yard look this good. I certainly don't have the skills to do that. I was shocked, and I was thinking that maybe my ex-husband had taken pity on my and did it, even though I knew that was far-fetched. I had to beg him for weeks to do the cameras before I could get settled in. Someone knocked on my door, and when I answered the door, it was the older man. He said he had seen me out pushing the lawn mower around and lugging around a weed eater that was bigger than me, and since he had a riding mower, he decided he would save me some trouble, mowed my yard. I thanked him profusely and tried to pay him, and he declined the money and told me he liked doing yard work and he didn't mind helping me out. So I took him over some chicken spaghetti that night, and he tried to refuse the meal, and I told him I enjoyed cooking, I don't really, and that I wanted to show him my appreciation. This man is a widower and doesn't have family in the state, so he's mowed my yard regularly until it turned cold, and I take him over meals at least 3 times a week, and he has even come over for dinner a few times. I've talked to him in some form almost every day. I had a leaky sink, and he fixed it over my protests. I lost my grandfather several years back, and I have missed him greatly. And this man reminds me of my grandfather. He tells my boys stories of his time in the military, about his kids and late wife, and he has become almost like my second grandpa. Thanksgiving is just going to be me and my boys this year, and so I invited him over for Thanksgiving, and after much begging and persuading, he has agreed. I'm going to invite him for Christmas as well, and I have socked away some extra money, and we are going to make sure that he has a present under our tree this year. I guess I should go thank D and his family, cause their entitlement made it possible for us to have some family for the holidays. Thank you all for your support and concern. And don't worry about me anymore. I got my second grandpa looking after me. #1. This is a real story, and if you don't believe it, then that's on you. Numbery. Yes. I live in a quiet neighborhood, and my specific road is busy. There are 12 houses on my street. Busy road doesn't mean noisy. I guess I caused confusion when I said I was at the end of the cul-de-sac. I'm the last house, right before the cul-de-sac starts, so I consider myself at the end. Cul-de-sac doesn't mean no traffic. I still have neighbors and guests drive by, and the cul-de-sac is used as a place to turn around As I previously stated, I'm the only one on with a single car. This is a family neighborhood and there are lots of cars that drive in our area and on our street. #3. Cameras. I don't have any cameras and I will have to save up to get someone based on the comments. I will make that a priority. I have to budget to get extra stuff. My neighbor across the street have cameras and I'm almost certain the front of my house is covered by them. There is no way they can cover the front of their property without getting the street and my front yard covered. This doesn't bother me, and when I'm feeling better, I will go ask them about the coverage. #F. I did take a look at my HOA paperwork, and it does mention that street parking is acceptable, but only if it doesn't impede traffic. I'm assuming that since some of the neighbors made a complaint about the truck, that the HOA must have said something to him, which is why he was trying to use my driveway. This is purely an assumption. #E. For those telling me I should have damaged the truck in some way, I just can't do that. Was it wrong for them to park on my property? Yes, but that doesn't mean I have to be like them. I'm satisfied with just towing the truck and the report I filed. If things don't escalate, then I will call it a win. If they do, then I will certainly respond. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not a pushover. I will not start anything or escalate anything unnecessarily. But if they escalate, I will stand my ground. #E. Yes, myself and my oldest are still sick but getting better every day. My youngest was able to return to school this morning. Shout out to the person who asked for the update in the comment section. Without him, there might not have been a part to video.